Okay. Hey, everyone. So we are going into our Unit 2 series of LEAP review lessons. And our first lesson is going to be on the topic of mitosis and meiosis. So to just give you an overall big picture, mitosis is cell division, and it is the process our body uses to make more cells. So like if we're growing and our bones need to grow, our muscles need to grow, we use mitosis for that. And if we have an injury or a cut or something, then mitosis is the process that heals that injury by producing new cells to replace the damaged cells. Meiosis, on the other hand, only occurs in a certain type of cell, and they're called germline cells, and they are found in your reproductive organs. So for females, you have ovaries, and your germline cells in your ovaries produce eggs. And for males, you have testicles, and your germline cells in your testicles produce sperm. And egg and sperm are called gametes or sex cells. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now let's get in a little bit deeper and start off with some definitions and some examples. I highly recommend you take notes while I'm typing, and you can, of course, pause the video whenever you need to, if you need to catch up. So what is mitosis? Is cell division for body cells that are growing or need repair. Okay, so examples would be skin cells, like if you have a cut on your skin, bone cells, like if you break a bone, blood cells when you need more blood. Let's say you bleed a little bit, or you donate blood, then your blood cells will start doing mitosis to make more blood cells. Okay, lots more examples. Most of the cells in your body do mitosis. Now, meiosis, on the other hand, is a type of cell division for gametes only. So for gamete production, let's say it that way. So germline cells undergo meiosis to produce sperm and egg cells. Okay. All right. Now, somatic. Somatic is just another word for body cells. So your examples would be skin cells, blood cells, nerve cells, etc. Okay. A gamete is a sex cell. So sperm for male and eggs for females. Okay, now crossing over is occurs during meiosis. And this is where the homologous chromosomes line up side by side in the cell, and genes are transferred from one chromosome to the other. The result is the formation of genetically different cells. Okay, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth in just a minute. Okay, now you heard me use the word homologous chromosome. So what does that mean? Well, homo means same. So anytime you see a word with the prefix homo, that means same. So these are chromosomes that you inherit from each parent that are relatively the same size and have the same genes. And let's don't say same, have genes in the same location. Let me move this out of the way. Won't move. Okay, I'll just move this up. Okay, so in humans, you have 23 homologous pairs, which equals 46 chromosomes total. Okay, different organisms have different numbers of chromosomes, but for humans, we get 23 chromosomes from our mother and 23 chromosomes from our father for a total of 46 chromosomes. Okay, now haploid and diploid. So we're talking about chromosomes here. So haploid refers to half the normal number of chromosomes. So in humans, that equals 23. Diploid refers to a full set of chromosomes. So in humans, that equals 46. Okay, so I recommend that you look back over these definitions for just a couple of minutes before you move on, so that because I'm going to be talking about and using all these words, and you'll probably get lost if you're not familiar with these terms. So, excuse me. So pause the video, make sure that you got all these typed, and then just read over them a couple of times to get them in your mind. Okay, so now let's look at what's actually happening in mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so here you have a diagram showing you mitosis. So mitosis begins after interphase. So this first first cell is in what's called interphase. And interphase, it spends 90% of its time in interphase. So mitosis occurs rather quickly. So most of the time, the cell is in interphase. So interphase is the cell grows, copies its DNA, and gets ready to divide. Okay, so this is interphase. I think I'm gonna put that somewhere else. Hold on a second. So I'm just gonna scroll over here and type interphase right here, and then I will retype what happens in interphase. Okay, now the next phase is also the first phase of mitosis. So interphase is not part of mitosis. Interphase is part of the cell cycle, but prophase right here is the first part of mitosis. And so in prophase, you see that the chromosomes are visible, the little pink and green X-shaped structures. Those are chromosomes. See, over here, all you can see is the DNA. That squiggly line stuff, that's the DNA. But when it goes into prophase, the nuclear membrane disappears and the DNA condenses and it gets thicker and it goes into these X-shaped chromosomes. So this phase is called prophase. And then this next phase is where the chromosomes line up across the middle of the cell, and it is called metaphase. And then in this next phase, you see that the two little X's split apart. So the X is called a chromosome, and each one of the sides of the X is called a sister chromatid. And they're held together in the middle by the centromere. And so during anaphase, the centromere splits the two sister chromatids and they move apart to opposite ends of the cell. So anaphase, if you'll think about away, so the chromosomes move away from each other. And then finally, the last phase, you can see that the cell, one cell is becoming two cells. And so this is called telophase. So you can think of two cells, telophase. Okay. And so I do want to add a little text box down here so I can add a couple of things that I think are important. So the cell cycle is interphase. Plus mitosis. Okay, so those two things together equal the cell cycle. But interphase is 90% of the time. So cells spend 90% of their time in interphase, and then they go into mitosis. And so interphase is broken down into three parts. So you have the G1 phase of interphase, and that is when the cell grows and does its job. So whatever kind of cell it is, that is what's going on in G1. So skin cells do a certain job, nerve cells do a different job, brain cells do a different job, blood cells do a different job. So in G1, the cell it grows a little bit and it does its job. And then the next part of interphase is called the S phase. And in the S phase, the cell replicates its DNA. Okay, so remember, we talked about DNA replication and how adenine goes with thymine and cytosine goes with guanine. Well, that's what happens in this S phase. So I'm going to call this G1 phase. And then this is the S phase. Okay, and this is where the DNA is copied. And the DNA must be copied or replicated before the cell can enter mitosis, because in mitosis, the cell is going to divide. And so when one cell becomes two cells, then both cells have to have a complete copy of the DNA. So this S phase is really important. And then after the S phase is the G2 phase. And so this is when the cell gets much larger because remember, it's going to become two cells. It's getting ready to do mitosis and become two cells. And so the cell gets much larger, makes extra cytoplasm and organelles so that when it becomes two cells, there's plenty of stuff to go around. Okay, so that's mitosis and the cell cycle. Okay, and remember, mitosis is occurring in all of your body cells. Your skin cells do this very quickly. You get a new layer of skin cells every 48 hours, and you have millions of skin cells. So this process is going on pretty quickly in your skin cells. It's much slower in other parts of your body. It takes much longer for like nerve cells to duplicate themselves. Blood cells, it takes a little bit longer than skin cells, but they do replicate pretty quick. Okay, so now we've looked at mitosis. Let's look at meiosis. Okay, so meiosis is a different process, like we talked about. And meiosis only occurs in a certain type of cell. And these cells are called germline cells, and they are found in your reproductive organs. So in the testicles of males and in the in the ovaries of females. And so what's happening here is a process that reduces the number of chromosomes by half. So if you think about it, sex cells cannot have the same number of chromosomes as all the other cells in your body because the sex cells are going to fuse with another sex cell to produce a baby. So a sperm and an egg are going to fuse together, and that's going to make the baby. And so if the baby is supposed to have 46 chromosomes, like in a human, then the sperm can only have 23 chromosomes and the egg can only have 23 chromosomes because they're going to fuse together. And when they do, then the resulting zygote or baby is going to have 46 chromosomes, which is the correct number. So that's why meiosis is so important. Another reason why meiosis is so important is because of the genetic variation that it produces. And so in this diagram, you're going to see that prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase happen once, and then prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase happen again. And that is so that the chromosome number will be reduced. So if you'll look right here in prophase 1, you see that the chromosomes are visible because the DNA has condensed. The cell is through interphase, and now it's going in to mitosis. And so you've got 4 chromosomes here. Now, these 4 chromosomes are going to line up together across the center of the cell. And when they do that, something really interesting is going to happen. It's called crossing over. Now, this diagram does not show crossing over. So let me show you. Let me show you what crossing over actually looks like. So here's a good, no, that's not that good. Let me get this other one. Yeah, this is a good picture. Whoops, don't want that one. Okay, here we go. Let me move this. All right, so during meiosis, the homologous chromosomes line up side by side. And when I remember, homologous chromosomes mean that you get one set of chromosomes from your mom and one set of chromosomes from your dad, 23 from each parent. So we'll just say this blue one is the one you got from your dad, and this red one is the one you got from your mom. And you'll see that the homologous chromosomes are the same size, and they also have the same genes. Now, they may not have the same variation of the gene, but they have the same genes on them. And so, so like the gene for eye color might be right down here on this chromosome, and then right down here on this chromosome. But if your mom has brown eyes and your dad has blue eyes, it's possible that these genes will switch places. Okay, and it's called crossing over. And you can see how it happens here. The homologous chromosomes get so close to each other that the genes can swap places, and you end up with chromosomes that are slightly altered. So this is what allows every person, every living thing actually, to be unique, because every time that this happens in meiosis, you have a whole new combination of genes, so you end up with a whole new variation. That's why we're all unique. Okay, so let's go back to this, and let me share this again. Okay, so all right, so that crossing over occurs right here during these two stages of meiosis. And so you've got prophase 1, then you've got metaphase 1, and so the homologous pairs line up together, and then anaphase 1, they move away from each other to opposite ends of the cell, and then telophase 1, and you end up with 2 cells. Now, look at the chromosome number now. Back here, we had 4 chromosomes. We got a purple, a green, a different color green, and a red. Okay, this might be like blue, aqua blue, I guess. But at the end of the first round of cell division, each cell only has 2 chromosomes in it. Okay, now these 2 cells are going to undergo a second cell division, or meiosis 2, and they're going to go through the same stages again, but this time it's going to be prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2. So you can see at the end, we end up with 4 cells. Unlike with mitosis, at the end, we end up with 2 cells, okay? And you'll notice that in mitosis, the 2 cells have the same number of chromosomes, two pink and 2 green, as they did at the beginning, 2 pink and 2 green. In meiosis, we end up with 4 cells, but each cell only has 2 chromosomes instead of what we started off with 4 chromosomes. Okay, so what are those stages again? So we have meiosis 1, which includes prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and then telophase 1. Okay, and then we have a whole another round of cell division called meiosis 2. And so we go through prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and then finally telophase 2. Okay, so by going through 2 rounds of cell division, we are able to not only reduce the number of chromosomes by half, but to also mix up the genes and get a whole new variety of genes. And so so this could be for sperm, or this could be for egg, depending on if this is male or female. And depending on which sperm fuses with which egg, that will determine the combination of traits that you get from your mom versus what you get from your dad. So we're all unique in that way. All right, so now let's compare mitosis and meiosis, because it's easy to get them mixed up, and they have some similarities. So we'll put some similarities down here as well. But first, let's just look at the differences between them. So the purpose of mitosis is for growth and repair, whereas the purpose of meiosis is the production of gametes. And remember, gametes are sex cells. So the type of cell that goes through mitosis are somatic or body cells. So like your skin cells, your blood cells, your nerve cells, all those types of cells that are all over your body. And on the other hand, with meiosis, it's just gametes that do meiosis. And so those are your sex cells, sperm and egg. Okay. Now let's think about the difference. So at the end of mitosis, we start at the beginning with 1 cell, and at the end, we have 2 cells. Okay. But in meiosis, we start with 1 cell, but at the end of meiosis, since we go through 2 phases of cell division, we end up with 4 cells. Now, in mitosis, the chromosome number doesn't change. So we have the diploid chromosome number, which means a full set of chromosomes. Okay, so at the end of mitosis, if it's a human cell, we start mitosis with 46 chromosomes, we end mitosis with 46 chromosomes. However, in meiosis, at the end, we have the haploid number, which is half the original number of chromosomes. Okay, and remember, that's so important because gametes are going to fuse together to make the baby. And so they can't have a full set of chromosomes, or the baby will have way too many chromosomes. Okay, now the number of cell divisions in mitosis, remember, we only had 1 PMAT. So we only did 1 cell division, where in meiosis, we did PMAT 1 and PMAT 2. So we had 2 cell divisions. And then the daughter cells, which are the cells that are produced at the end, the daughter cells produced at the end of mitosis are genetically identical. Okay, they have the same number of chromosomes, the same DNA, everything is the same. But at the end of the meiosis, the daughter cells are genetically different due to crossing over and independent assortment, which means that when the chromosomes split, they randomly go to different cells. Okay, so there's no way of knowing which DNA or which chromosomes are in which gamete. So it's a coin toss. Okay, now how are they the same? Well, of course, they are types of cell division. They both involve cell division, and they both have PMAT. So they both have prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. They both involve chromosomes. And I think that's it. So there you have it. Mitosis and meiosis. So in our next lesson, in our unit 2, I don't know if I said this at the beginning, but unit 2 is our genetics unit. So in our next lesson, we are going to learn how you inherit your traits. So we learned from meiosis that you inherit half of your chromosomes from your mom and half of your chromosomes from your dad. And on those chromosomes are your genes that determine your traits, what you look like, what you sound like, what you're able to do or not able to do. It's in your genes, and you inherit that from your parents. And so based on this process of meiosis, we're going to see in our next lesson how you inherit those traits and what is the probability that you're going to have your mom's trait or your dad's trait. So see you in the next lesson.